Should we talk about McLaren and Ferrari? Because we had some great TV footage. We'll get into the points in a minute and what it means for the championship. But I don't know did you watch the race live?
Yeah.
Yes. Lap 1, you had 2 McLarens going down that back straight. One on the left-hand side of Carlos Sainz, one on the right-hand side of Carlos Sainz, swamped them into turn 11 or 12, whatever it was. Beautiful footage. Absolutely fantastic. And I was like, this is the Ferrari-McLaren fight we've been wanting for the majority of this year. You mentioned a couple of podcasts ago that we keep on having either McLaren in 4th and 5th and then Ferrari in 8th and 9th, and there being cars in between, and we don't really get to see them battle each other on track. But this race we did, and it was magnificent. It hurts that Ferrari came out on top as McLaren fans, and I'm sure you'll touch on that in a minute. But what a race. And surprisingly, or not, and I don't mean this in a rude way, but Daniel Ricciardo was at the front of the McLaren team, really trying hard to push forward. Where did he finish? Was it P5? I believe Ricciardo finished.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah, Ricciardo finished in P5 and Norris in P8. And Norris said after the race that he really struggled. He was sliding all over the place, and it wasn't an enjoyable race for him, and he just didn't perform very well. But nevertheless, what a battle we had. Bottas was just stuck in the middle of it for most of the race, but it was pretty good. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so this is another one of our repeating topics, of course.
It is, yes.
It keeps coming back. Glad to have it back. McLaren just about holding on to that P3 spot, aren't they? Because Ricciardo was encouraging. Norris was, kind of unremarkable but dependable. Sainz was pretty feisty, but fell a little bit short, I think, and was a bit hard done by his poor pit stop that Ferrari did for him. But Charles Leclerc was just on a completely different level to the previous three. I think that he had such impressive pace. So he kind of wasn't really a factor once the race got going because he was so much further ahead and Ricciardo wasn't really getting near him. There was a fantastic battle on lap 1 between them against Sainz. I thought both of them were going to try and overtake Sainz into turn 12. Ricciardo also eventually had a great overtake on Sainz. I think that was around the sort of fast right-hand. There was, they both McLarens pitted on about lap 30 odd to take advantage of Sainz's slow stops. That was a good call from McLaren there. They were really in the battle. So it was really close between both of these teams. I was a bit concerned after qualifying that Ferrari did have the edge overall, which they did, but I think it was actually Leclerc that had the edge. I think it was his individual performance that really put Ferrari ahead on points accumulation on Sunday. So it's still very, very close between those two cars, and it's great to see them actually battling on track for once.
Yeah, Ferrari have definitely stepped it up in the last couple of races. There's a significant improvement because they've been fighting in the lower ends of the top 10, like P9, P8, P7, and now they're fighting in the top end behind Red Bull and Mercedes. It's a complete different switch. They're definitely trying hard. So this race, McLaren scored 14 points and Ferrari scored 18 points. So Ferrari eating into that lead, and the difference is only 3.5 points now. It's ridiculous. It's so close. And this championship is wide open in so many different places. It's anyone's game.
So it's mainly just that kind of on-track tussling that we saw from it was earlier on that was happening. I think there was a little bit of contact between Ricciardo and Sainz later on.
Yes, there was in sector 3. I think it was a rear tyre which clipped Sainz's rear tyre.
I think Ricciardo had a little bit of a slide. I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just a little bit of a slide coming out of there and ended up having a little bump with Sainz. It wasn't really anything major. But certainly a lot of the battles were going on earlier on, and then we ended up in a strategy battle as they were both trying to decide when they were going to pit, because the first to pit out of all of them was Ricciardo, I believe, and then Norris shortly after. Or was it Norris first? No, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Norris first. Norris pitted first, and then Ricciardo very shortly after, and then Ferrari responded to that. So McLaren kind of set the pace of the strategy between the two of them. And then the same was true later on as well, because it was McLaren who pitted first again. And again, it was Ferrari who responded to that, I believe. Just going to double check this because I've got my list I do write down all my pit stops. So it was actually Sainz that was first for the third stint, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sainz on lap 29. Then it was Ricciardo and then Norris and then Leclerc were shortly after. So yeah, there was a really interesting dynamic between those two. I think McLaren set the pace earlier on and then Ferrari tried to respond and did a good job. Sainz maybe just fell a little bit short. I just don't think he had quite the same quality as Leclerc on the day. And Ricciardo, I was happy to see him actually looking comfortable and looking fighty for once, which was nice to see. I feel like other than obviously what went on with Monza, I kind of think of Paul Ricard.
Yes. Yeah.
Kind of think of France, where he kind of looked quite fighty and was really kind of actually in there battling again. And I want to see that Daniel Ricciardo every single week. So fingers crossed.